it gives me great pleasure to introduce a special guest for this episode, a very talented racer that managed to stand on the podium every single race of the 2015 Australian Formula 3 Championship. Spent 2016 racing multiple cars and series, including a Saab, and is now off to join the European Le Mans Series. Welcome, Ricky Capo.
Hi, everyone. How are we?
Good, thanks, mate.
What an intro.
That's it. So driving us.
Can you come to bars with me and say that to girls?
Yeah. We can wingman you with an introduction. That'd be great.
That'd be great. I'm done. Sorted.
Nice. So you're driving a Saab. That would have been pretty interesting. I saw that thing.
Unexpected.
Yes. Yeah. It was a little bit, even to me. So one of my family friends, Dean Randall, his son Thomas, I started go-karting with him on the same day, actually, when we were 7 years old. So we've always kind of been close, our families, and Dean basically built this Saab with his team for the Sports Sedan Championship. And since Thomas went to race in Europe last year, I guess Dean was a little bored and basically asked if I wanted to drive it, and I jumped at the idea, and it was unlike anything I've ever driven before. So it was a really good experience for me.
Yeah.
Oh, it was crazy, and the engine is right next to you in the cockpit. So while you're driving, it just gets very hot and you burn your arms a couple times when you're turning. So there's just a lot of new things that you need to be aware of as well. And it was actually quite funny because on the first lap I actually pulled into the pits because there was that much smoke around me, and I thought there was a problem with the engine. And then they literally just said, no, that's how this is normal. And I just went back out there. I'm like, oh God, okay.
Operating as expected.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it was really, really good fun.
Oh, good. Now, obviously, I touched on your intro, but 2015 was a pretty huge year for you in the Formula 3. 22 podiums from 22 starts. That's not bad. 8 wins and, of course, the championship. So how much do you reckon that year, like alone, has kind of helped you get to where you are today?
I think a lot, but I think more so personally, because I think it kind of just gave me the confidence, and it really was a big step forward for me in my career. I felt as if because that was my second year racing cars, so I was basically doing go-karting for around 9 or 10 years.
Yeah.
And in the first season, we finished 4th in the championship in an older model car. And then in the 2015 season, we had an updated car, which helps as well. But at the same time, I really felt as if I stepped it up a lot as well. So physically and mentally, I felt like it was a big jump for me. And obviously, the results kind of show that. But at the same time, I learned a lot of racecraft as well. And I think that definitely helped me with racing GT last year because there's a lot more competition, a lot more cars. So I think it was a good season. I felt as if I learned a lot, and it was good fun. It was really good to kind of have that pressure on me at all times because obviously we're fighting for a championship. And so from the first practice session to the last race, there was always that pressure there, and I felt like I learned to deal with it quite well. So,
so going into that season, did you sort of what were your expectations? Were you thinking? Obviously you're hoping to win every race, but how did you go compared to how you thought you'd go? Were you surprised a little bit that you were so successful, or that's really that's where you shot for, and you think you landed it pretty well?
Pretty much, to be honest. I kind of set quite high expectations for myself. Yep. Since I wasn't a rookie anymore, since it was my second season in the category. So, no, I honestly felt as if I set expectations along those lines. I obviously went into it wanting to win the championship. And not only did I want to win, I felt like I could win. And I think there's a difference between the two, and that can change your mentality. So I had both of those things on my side, and that helped me along the way. So I think overall, obviously, you don't really know what's going to happen in a racing season because there's so many factors, and that most of them are outside of your control, to be honest, because you're only the driver and there's only so much you can do. But no, I felt as if my expectations and the reality was quite similar.
Yeah, good.
No, that's awesome, and I mean, really, you couldn't do much better.
No.
Thank you.
That's all right. Something I found that was just really interesting was obviously the fact that your team, the way it's structured, is essentially just yourself and your dad. I think for me that blows me away. That's just awesome. Like to be able to have that sort of working relationship. But I mean, I can imagine it probably gets testy at some times, but like to just have that sort of relationship as well, it'd be pretty awesome.
Absolutely. So my dad, he's an engineer. He owns his own engineering business, and he does a lot of gearboxes for racing cars. So he basically got my foot in the door in racing, and he introduced me to go-karting and everything. And since he's good with the tools, being an engineer and all, he's always been the number one mechanic, basically. So he's kind of my number one sponsor. He's the truck driver. He's, my biggest fan. He's everything, basically. So, but yes, you're right. There's definitely some pressure that comes with that, even more so because we're related. But no, I think we've handled it quite well. And we can still go to the movies every now and then and just chill out and not talk about motorsport things, which I think is really important for a father and a son. But yes, I'm obviously very thankful to him for introducing me to racing and supporting me up until this point.
Yeah, hell of an opportunity.
Yeah, and even whether he's your father or not, just trying to do all that on a two-man team, yourself and one other, is obviously a mammoth effort. So, yeah, kudos.
Yeah,
for doing that.
Thank you. We basically we have obviously my father, and then we have an engineer and a mechanic, and that's pretty much it. So it's quite funny compared to all the other teams. Obviously, there's a lot more of them, and they're all wearing their official merchandise and T-shirts, and we're kind of just all dressed up differently and doing our own thing in a way. But I think we've made it work really well, and I think it's good. I think it proves that you don't need that many people, because a lot of people have actually come up to me and said, we're actually racing in this series now because you proved that you don't need a team of this many people, and you don't need all these this fancy equipment. So obviously it's good to be showing that to other people as well.
Yeah, no, that's really awesome. Inspiring new people to come along and try it as well. That's great.
Exactly. Yeah.
I thought that was definitely obvious as well when I first met you, obviously last year at the Australian Kart Championships.
Yes.
There's your dad sort of just tinkering away, and we just hung out in the truck for a bit. Like, it was just very low key, but I could just sense straight from yourself, obviously, the passion and that came from the both of you, and the love for the categories of the sports, and even just the lower level stuff that, like you said to me, that you loved the karting just as much as anything else, just because of the fierce competition and everything. And that's something that's made me a massive fan of yourself, just personally, let alone whatever anyone else thinks. Just
thanks,
to
man.
see, that's all right. Just to see the sort of passion that someone has for it, it's hard not to like, I think.
Oh, right. Yeah, it was quite interesting going into that weekend, because me and my dad, we had this deal where we just said, let's just go and have some fun and not think about results or anything like that. And after the first practice session, we were really competitive. And then after that, our whole attitudes changed, and we were in it to win it. So I think we could have done that as well, but we had a gearbox failure on Sunday afternoon, which was a big shame. But yes, I love racing go-karts still. I mean, we only did that one race last year, but we're still testing it quite a bit on the weekends and everything, because obviously it's a lot cheaper and easier than testing a racing car. So obviously that's the way to go for us. And I think it's almost it's definitely harder than GT, I've found. Compared to Formula 3, I'd say Formula 3 is a bit more difficult physically, because you just have that much downforce. But yes, it's a really good training tool, physically and mentally, because everything's happening so fast on a go-kart track because it's so short. And especially in that category, it's a 6-speed gearbox. So you're always doing something. If you're not turning, accelerating, or braking, you're changing gears. So yes, I hope that in France I'll be able to continue doing it, which I think I will be, because that's where I'll be based, and I'll be based around Magny-Cours, the racetrack, and they have a karting circuit, and my team boss, he owns a KZ kart similar to the one I have here. So hopefully when I get there, I can do some laps there. So hopefully everything will be the same, a little different, but the same.
How have you found it over the years, with fitness and preparing yourself for races, with all the different categories and everything, as for physically and mentally, and how much has that changed from category to category?
I think it's quite similar, to be honest. Obviously, the intensity of the training is going to differ, but I think in terms of what I'm training, like what aspects of my body, it's been quite similar throughout. So a lot of work at the gym on my arms, running quite a bit for my cardio, and then just basic neck exercises, which I found is the hardest thing for me, just from the G-forces, but also in Formula 3 especially, and LMP3, because there's no power steering or anything like that, which GT has. You need to be physically strong to even just turn the steering wheel, because you just have that much downforce. But in terms of the fitness, I feel as if it's all quite similar, even from go-karting to LMP3. It's all been quite a similar program. It's just the intensity changes.
So, I mean, you touched on, obviously, the fact that you're heading off to France. So when are you doing that?
I'm leaving next Wednesday, so basically 6 days today. So everything's a little crazy at the moment. I'm just making sure I'm as prepared as I can be, because I'll be in the car testing within 4 days of me being there. So I need to make sure that I settle in quickly to the cold weather as well, which I'm not really looking forward to. That's probably the only downside of going. But I've got some pretty cool winter jackets that I've never really had the opportunity to wear here in Australia. So hopefully I can start wearing those a lot more.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. That's my positive for the cold weather. So, but yes, everything's kind of just a little crazy. Saying goodbye to my family and friends, which is a little tough, a little strange for me. But no, I'm really looking forward to this, and I think it's a big step forward for me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've had a bit of a look at the category. I'm pretty new to it myself, actually. I've not really had a look at it before, and I mean, it looks pretty full on, like with your LMP2, your LMP3, and then your GTEs as well. How do you feel you're going to go when you're driving past the current World Endurance Championship in Nicky Tim in his Aston Martin? Just cruising by in your LMP3 sort of car.
Well, it's funny you say that, because last year there was a bit of controversy because the GT cars were faster in the straight line compared to some of the LMP3 cars. So usually the structure is LMP2, LMP3, and then GTE. But GTE was sometimes a little faster than LMP3, and basically the people in the team were getting a little frustrated because of that. So basically, I think they've done something now to the restrictor, which gives it like another 50 horsepower or something. So I think it's going to be a lot easier this year. So looking forward to that. But yes, I think it's a very full grid. I think there's going to be at least 30 cars per round. And obviously you're only racing a certain amount of those, but at the same time, you're on the circuit with all these different drivers and cars, which really adds to the intensity. And I'm really looking forward to that, actually. I think it'll be cool to surround myself with as many cars and competitors as possible, because it's still a good gauge for me. Obviously I'm only competing in LMP3, but it'll be interesting to try learning from the LMP2 drivers and the GTE drivers, and see where the cars are stronger and weaker. So yes, looking forward to that, because the only categories I've driven in have only been one type of car, obviously one type of category in the championship itself. So obviously in Formula 3, there's only Formula 3 cars, GT only GT cars, whereas here there'll be 3 different categories. So should be interesting.
Yeah, I suppose you'll have to learn to deal with back markers and things like that slightly more often as well. Maybe less so in LMP3, but still it's going to be a thing, especially at the tighter tracks where the downforce really does give you a huge step up over the GTE. But yeah, that's all new skills, isn't it?
Exactly, and yeah, looking forward to learning that, and increasing my racecraft, which I think is really important. But also the races are a lot longer than what I'm used to. So the races are 4 hours long, and I'll have 2 teammates, so there'll be 3 drivers per car. But yeah, so learning to deal with that as well. I've never had a teammate before, now I've got 2 of them. And obviously the GT races, the longest ones I did were 1 hour long. So now this is, it's a quarter compared to what I was used to. So looking forward to all these different new challenges, and hopefully I can pick it up as soon as possible.
Yeah, so going back to Willie's question about the physicality of it, you haven't had to pick your fitness level up or anything for the LMP3 car and preparing for the longer races, or you're pretty comfortable that you're on top of that already?
I think the biggest thing that I'll have to get used to is just the mental strength, because obviously you're in the car a lot longer. Your concentration can start to go away from you. So yeah, I think that'll be the biggest challenge for me. But obviously the more time I'll be in the car, the more I'll get used to that. So looking forward to getting our testing program underway and our preparations for round 1.
Not to mention that you'll obviously be doing it at some fantastic circuits over in Europe.
Oh, it's crazy. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's just awesome. So I think it's Silverstone, Monza, Spa, Portugal, and a few others, but it's just 4-hour races at all these fantastic locations surrounded by amazing cars, and what's not to love?
That's it.
I know, it's true. It's like these are the tracks that I've memorized since I was really young on my PlayStation 1, and now I'm going to be driving on them. It's still sinking in a little bit. Especially Monza. I think that track has always stood out for me because I'm half Italian and I've supported Ferrari my whole life, me and my family. So that track is always the one I used to choose when I was playing on console. So now to be racing on that track, it's pretty crazy. I'm really looking forward to that one.
Out of all the categories that you've raced in, do you have a favourite race?
A favourite race?
Yeah, that you've been involved in, whether it's a win or just a great battle or something that's just, whether it's gone to plan for whatever reason?
I really enjoyed Phillip Island last year in GT. So we were in the BMW Z4. That was the car we were competing in. And it was an older model car. So basically BMW introduced the BMW M6, as well as obviously the other car manufacturers introducing these new cars. So there was always a little bit of a challenge for us to be competitive against this new technology, which is a little hard to compete with at times. But Phillip Island is probably one of my favorite tracks. It is my favorite track in Australia. I really love it there. So I've done some laps in there in Formula 3, and I just felt very comfortable there. And basically, it was a really good race for us because we finished third up against some pretty talented drivers. We had a DTM driver there, and I think 2 V8 supercar drivers there. Shane Van Gisbergen was one of them. So to be competing against drivers like that and to be doing quite well against them was really cool. And obviously, like I said, Phillip Island, it's such a cool track to me. And I don't have a teammate in GT. Some drivers do, but basically I got to do the whole race, the whole 1 hour race on my own. So it was really cool to be obviously passing a lot of cars, but at the same time, just being on that circuit for such a long time. That was a really fun race for me.
Yeah, I mean, and you went to Macau at the end of last year in the Z4, which, you know, is just phenomenal. Like it's an unreal thing.
Crazy track, yeah.
To go there.
That's insane. I've never done as much track study for something as I did for Macau because there's just so much going on and most of the track is blind. So you really, the biggest challenge I found was knowing how long the corners were and when to apex, just because you literally can't see the corner sometimes. So that was probably the biggest thing that I had to get used to. But yeah, so it was a crazy event. It was the most fun I've had probably all of last season being at that event. And it was a shame we had to end crashing the car. But like I said, I think I learned a lot from that event. But it still hurts a little bit because we were in 13th position at the time. And to finish 13th or in the top 15 would have been amazing. But it was it was tough to come back from that. But I feel like that's normal and that happens a lot in motorsport. So I feel like I'm a lot stronger from that now, and I'm going to use that as a positive now to look forward to the future.
Especially seeing as
yes,
exactly. Especially seeing as the people that you were up against, the factory teams, the factory drivers, the big boys came to town, and you know you like we spoke on before. You know, you're just a little outfit that wanted to go and race, and to do as well as you did, I think that's commendable on its own effort. But yeah, so I thought it was interesting though when you did a pre-race sort of Facebook Live thing, and you were saying that you'd never really heard the car from outside, and I commented on it, telling you to start it up, and it was good to see the glee on your face. Like it's just like you mirrored what I think whenever I hear that thing. It's just so amazing.
Yeah, that was cool. I remember doing that. It was really funny being there because we had everything organized. We basically, because we needed to ship the car to China from Australia, so we really needed to focus on bringing everything that we needed. And one of the things we forgot was a table and chairs. So we got there and we had nowhere to put our tools or to eat or anything. So it was really funny on Wednesday because obviously it's the official Mercedes-Benz team and these really professional drivers, and we had our lunch and we were just sitting on the ground because we had nowhere else to eat it. It was funny. It was a little embarrassing, but that was a good story for me to take away because we just looked kind of ridiculous. But no, it was quite. I think a lot of people were surprised to see us going there with just a few people, and we had a lot of drivers and teams coming up to us and saying the same thing, which was quite cool that people are taking notice of little things like that as well.
Yeah, it's just gave off this big vibe of the little team that could, and I reckon you did. You know, it was really good.
Thank you. Yeah, awesome event.
Yeah, I think I was just showing them before the sounds of the LMP3, and because I think I watched that video of you testing at Catalunya about 300 times. It sounds so good. Like I love that Z4, but so does the you've just gone to another amazing sounding car.
Yeah, it sounded mental. Yeah, it was much better than I expected.
That car is something else. Honestly, it's such a cool category. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. It has more downforce than the GT and more power than the Formula 3, and it's basically it's really just a combination of those two categories, and they're the only two things I've done. So apart from the sports sedan, so I basically got in the car and I was really comfortable straight away. So
have you done much in research against what your competitors are going to be like there?
A little bit. So I've started watching some of the races. So the 4-hour races are online. So I've started just kind of seeing how, I get some information about the tracks from watching it, but also I get to see like when drivers are doing their pit stops and when there's a stopover and who's competitive, who's consistent, who spins out a lot. So just little things like that. But really, I tend to not really focus on that too much.
As long as you're going out there and doing what you got to do, I guess.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, I always try to just focus on what I'm doing, because you can't change what other people are doing. You can only really change what you're doing. And I think I learned that from racing, but I think it's helped me a lot in life as well.
Yep.
Because really, at the end of the day, you can only really focus on yourself and what you're feeling and what you're doing. But yeah, so a little bit unintentionally though. So I try to just go in with the idea where everyone around me is just as quick as I am, and I need to push that a little bit harder to be faster than them.
Well, Ricky, thank you very much for joining us and obviously taking the time. We really do appreciate that.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, it's look, all the best in Europe, and I really do mean that. We're all going to be following your progress in the LMP3 this year, and I'm confident.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think your enthusiasm and everything like that towards just racing in general is exactly the sort of attitude you need to be successful. So, yeah, we're going to be looking forward to watching you, and definitely all the best and all the success with it. So, thank you very much.
Of course. Thank you guys for having me.
No worries. Thanks. And who knows? Maybe we can do another one later in the season, see how you're going.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. When you've taken out a podium for every race of the year so far.
Oh,
Replicate 2015, and then we'll have another chat.
That'd be nice. I'll hold you to that.
Yeah.
And we'll be like, yeah, see, we got to him before he was cool.
Yeah.
Before he was cool, come on, man.
Come on, he's already cool. Come on, jeez. Just knock him down right before we go.
Oh, come on. It's not like I haven't been chasing him for weeks anyway, so.
It's good. I need to keep a level head, so thank you for that.
Oh, Jesus.